I never thought neighborhood politics could threaten my actual health, but that's exactly where I found myself last summer. 6 months earlier, I'd moved into Sycamore Heights, a pristine suburban dream with postcard-perfect lawns, identical mailboxes, and neighbors who waved with smiles that never reached their eyes. It all looked calm and peaceful, until I met the woman who ran it like her private kingdom. Her name was Karen Whitfield, and she wasn't just the HOA president. She was a self-appointed monarch of Sycamore Heights. Mid-50s, with a meticulously styled blonde bob and a pearl-white Lexus that gleamed like a badge of authority, Karen lived for control. Her license plate even read HOA Boss. She patrolled the neighborhood daily with her clipboard, her measuring tape, and the righteous look of someone who believed they were saving civilization, one trash can at a time. From the first week, she decided I was her new project. My garbage bin sat out 10 minutes too long after pickup. Violation notice. The trim on my house wasn't creamy eggshell, but Navajo white. Another violation. My holiday light stayed up 3 days past New Year's. A sternly worded warning quoting Section 14C, subsection D. At first, I tried to play nice. I followed the rules, repainted the trim, and made sure the trash can disappeared within minutes. I thought if I just complied, she'd move on. But with Karen, there was no winning, only submission. For months, I kept my head down. But everything changed the day I installed a small, secure package box beside my front door. It wasn't flashy or oversized, just a neat, steel gray lockbox that matched the house perfectly. I traveled often for work, and after a few stolen deliveries, it made sense. It was practical, discreet, and, I thought, harmless. 3 days later, I came home to find a bright orange violation notice taped to my door. Unapproved exterior modification. Remove immediately or face daily fines of $100. Annoyed but not surprised, I decided to go by the book. I submitted a full retroactive approval request to the HOA's Architectural Committee, complete with photos, color swatches, and product details. A week later, they approved it. I exhaled in relief, thinking that was the end of it. But Karen wasn't about to let me win. At the next HOA meeting, she overrode the committee's decision, using what she called her emergency presidential powers. Yes, she actually said that, over mailbox-size box. Afterward, I approached her calmly. Karen, I use that box for medication deliveries. I explained. These are specialty prescriptions, and I can't just pick them up at a pharmacy. She smiled that tight, smug smile I'd grown to dread. Rules are rules, she said. If I let you keep your little box, everyone will want one. Then our community's uniform aesthetic will be ruined. You can just pick up your medication like a normal person. I took a breath. These aren't regular prescriptions, I said quietly. They are shipped directly from a specialty pharmacy. I need them to function. Her smile didn't waver. That sounds like a you problem, not an HOA problem. That was the moment I decided I wasn't backing down. Within days, she started issuing fines, $100 a day. By the second week, I received a certified letter. I owed $1,400 and had 48 hours to remove the box or face further action. That's when I called my lawyer, a specialist in HOA disputes. He looked through the paperwork and shook his head. She's way out of line, he said. The Architectural Committee's approval is final. There are no emergency powers in your bylaws. He drafted a formal letter to the HOA board demanding Karen's decision be reversed immediately. I felt a spark of hope again. Maybe, finally, she'd been caught going too far. But I underestimated just how vindictive she could be. A few days later, I left for a 3-day business trip. Before leaving, I double-checked everything. The lawn was perfect. The trash bins tucked away, every violation she could exploit neatly neutralized. My next shipment of medication was due to arrive while I was gone, but that's exactly why I'd installed a secure box. When I returned late Friday night, I knew something was wrong before I even stepped out of the car. The box was gone. Not damaged, not tampered with, just gone. In its place was a laminated notice taped to the wall. The HOA has exercised its right to remedy the violation. My stomach dropped. Too tired to deal with it that night, I decided to check with the HOA office in the morning. But when I got there, Locked. Closed for the weekend. I checked the delivery status on my phone. My heart pounded when I saw it. Delivered 2 days ago. Panic set in. I searched the entire property. Bushes, porch, even behind the bins. But the package was nowhere. And there was only one person in the neighborhood petty enough to have touched it. I marched straight to Karen Whitfield's pristine White House, my pulse hammering. She opened the door wearing a crisp tennis outfit, her visor perched perfectly. She smiled like a cat toying with a mouse. "Karen," I began, keeping my voice steady. "I'm missing a delivery that was supposed to go into my package box. Do you know where it is?" "Oh, that?" she said sweetly, pretending to think. "It was sitting out for days, an eyesore, probably attracting thieves. I disposed of it." I blinked, unsure I'd heard her right. "You disposed of it?" She crossed her arms. "You violated community rules. I remedied the violation." My voice shook. "That was prescription medication, controlled substances worth over $1,000. You had no right to touch it." Her smile faded, replaced by that icy, authoritarian stare. "You should have thought of that before breaking the rules. Besides, for all I know, you were getting drugs." It was clearly labeled from the pharmacy. I snapped. "You destroyed life-saving medication." She gave a dismissive shrug. "Take it up with the board." Then, with a cruel little smirk, "Maybe next time you'll think twice before ignoring our standards." And with that, she slammed the door in my face. I stood there, shaking, not just from anger, but from fear. My next refill wouldn't come for 2 weeks, maybe longer with insurance delays. I felt my chest tighten as a reality sank in. Karen hadn't just crossed a line, she'd endangered my life, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. The moment Karen slammed that door, something inside me snapped. For months I'd tolerated her arrogance, her rules, her smug smile, but this wasn't about lawn heights or mailbox colors anymore. She had taken my medication, my lifeline. I stood on her porch for a long minute, staring at the white door she'd just closed, trying to calm the shaking in my hands. I wasn't angry, I was terrified. I could feel the symptoms of my condition already creeping in, subtle but familiar, reminding me just how serious this was. I went home, sat down at my kitchen table, and called my specialty pharmacy. When a woman named Sarah answered, I tried to keep my voice steady, but it cracked halfway through the explanation. "Wait! Someone deliberately took and destroyed your medication," she repeated, her tone instantly alarmed. "That's not just wrong, that's illegal. Tampering with or disposing of prescription drugs is a federal offense, especially the kind you're on." "I didn't even think about that," I said quietly. "I just need it replaced. My insurance won't approve a refill for 2 weeks. Sarah didn't hesitate. "First, you need to contact the police. This is theft and destruction of controlled substances. I'll send them proof of delivery and full documentation from our end. You'll also get a call from our compliance department. Don't wait. File the report today." I hung up, still in shock, and drove straight to the local police station. The officer at the front desk looked skeptical when I started explaining, until I showed him everything. The violation notices, the certified letter from Karen, the HOA board approval, the delivery confirmation from the pharmacy. His expression shifted from disinterest to sharp concern. "You're saying your HOA president physically removed the box and disposed of your prescription?" he asked, writing notes quickly. "Yes," I said. She admitted it to my face. He looked up. "Admitted it?" I nodded. She said she thought it might contain drugs, so she threw it out. The officer exhaled slowly, then reached for the phone on his desk. "That's mail tampering and destruction of controlled substances. We'll open a report immediately." For the first time in days, I felt like I wasn't completely alone in this fight. That night, I barely slept. My anxiety was through the roof. I kept replaying the conversation in my mind. The smirk, the dismissiveness, the way she twisted everything to make me look like the problem. But that morning, justice finally came knocking. Just not at my door. Sirens. I heard them before I saw the flashing lights bouncing off the houses of Sycamore Heights. I stepped out onto my porch just as 2 patrol cars rolled to a stop in front of Karen Whitfield's immaculate home. Neighbors began to gather. First one, then three, then nearly a dozen, whispering and craning their necks. Curtains fluttered, phones recorded, and there she was. Karen stepped outside, still dressed for church in her pastel blue dress and pearl earrings, looking more confused than afraid. She spoke with the officers for a minute, her arms crossing defensively. Then, suddenly, one officer turned her around and snapped handcuffs over her wrists. For a second, the whole street fell silent. Then the whispers started. I just stood there, stunned, watching the woman who'd made my life miserable for months being led toward a police car. The HOA Queen of Sycamore Heights was going down, and this time, there was no rule book to save her. Later, I learned exactly what happened. Sarah, true to her word, had gone above and beyond. She'd send the police every piece of documentation, the shipment confirmation, the pharmacy records, proof that the package contained federally controlled medication. That single email turned my neighborhood feud into a federal case. When questioned, Karen admitted to taking the package but claimed she thought it was suspicious and had thrown it away. The problem? The dumpster she'd used had already been emptied by the city's sanitation crew. My medication was gone for good. The charges stacked up fast: mail tampering, theft, and interference with the distribution of controlled substances. Because my prescription required federal registration, what might have been a slap on the wrist became a serious crime. And the investigation didn't stop there. When police searched her garage, they found several unopened packages belonging to other neighbors, some dating back months. She'd been confiscating deliveries under the guise of community cleanliness. That discovery changed everything. Karen wasn't just petty, she was criminal. Word spread like wildfire. By the time Monday rolled around, the entire neighborhood knew. For years, she bullied everyone into silence, but now, the same people she humiliated were watching her reputation unravel. At the emergency HOA meeting that week, the boardroom was packed. Karen wasn't there. She was dealing with a legal fallout, but her name hung in the air like smoke. One by one, neighbors stood up and told their stories: missing packages, unfair fines, threats, and harassment. It was like a dam breaking. Finally, the board president, acting in her absence, called for a vote. Shall Karen Whitfield be removed as HOA president, effective immediately? Every hand went up. Unanimous. I watched from the back of the room, feeling something I hadn't felt in months: relief. The reign of Sycamore Heights tyrant was over. Karen eventually took a plea deal, reduced charges in exchange for restitution. She was fined $5,000, sentenced to 2 years of probation, and ordered to repay the value of all destroyed or stolen property, including my medication. But for Karen, the real punishment wasn't the fine. It was humiliation. The day she returned to clean out her HOA office, she walked across the parking lot with her head down, clutching her handbag like a lifeline. Neighbors didn't greet her. Some watched from their windows. A few even smiled. As she passed me on her way out, she paused for just a second, her voice trembling. "I never thought they'd actually arrest me over a stupid box," she muttered. "It was just a box." I didn't respond, because for her, maybe it was just a box. But for me, it had been my safety, my health, my life. And standing there, in the quiet aftermath of it all, I realized something simple but powerful. People like Karen thrive only when others stay silent. The moment you stop letting them control the narrative, they lose everything they built on fear. Sycamore Heights still looked perfect from the outside: the manicured lawns, the white fences, the matching mailboxes. But the air felt different now. Lighter, freer, because the queen had finally fallen.